Hello, everyone. With Avengers Endgame nearly here, it's amazing how many great films Marvel's been involved with over the years. Even outside their own studio, we've had lots of interesting films with the likes of Spider-Man, the X-Men, Deadpool to enjoy. However, it wasn't always like this, as today's subject proves. As I pointed out before, I'm a big Captain America fan, and since I've already looked at all three of the movies in Chris Evans' trilogy, I thought I'd go back to a film that's so bad that Marvel themselves have effectively disowned it. The 1979 TV movie wasn't great either, but looking at a totally different beast, the 1990 Captain America film, which is intended for theatrical release. The film's producer, who was also involved with Superman and 4 3 years prior, lost so much leverage with distributors that ended up going direct to video instead. So let's get this over with. We open on Porto Venere, Italy in the year 1986, where a young man is practicing on a piano before his home is invaded by soldiers who kill his family, kidnap him, and take him to a small box on the grounds of superior intelligence. So, the movie just started, and I already have no idea what's going on in the first minute. That's not a good sign. He's taken to a fortress in Lorenzo, where they're doing some experiments that turn stock footage of rats into terrible stop motion rats. As the boy is forced to undergo the same process, one of the scientists objects and escapes as we cut to 7 years later, 1943. As the White House discusses a new experiments to combat the Red Skull, we fade to Redondo Beach, California, where we're introduced to Steve Rogers playing Matthew Salinger. Interesting. Not only is the son of Arthur G.D. Salinger, but rather 90-pound weakling from Brooklyn, he's a guy from California who has polio and an unconvincing limp. Not even 10 minutes in, we've already got lots of changes abound. Also, that starts the fun little game of trying to find all the Life for Christmas story. Mr. Rogers also played Ralphie's mother in that film, giving Steve his father's medal before he goes to take part in the experiments. Steve also decides to say goodbye to his beau, sharing an awkward kiss while standing amid even more awkward sets and matte paintings. I also find it odd the movie says that Steve is scared when his actor looks more bored, flat differently his lines, and smoking a cigarette he's taken to see what lies beneath a small cafe the following week. That's good coffee got here, and good cherry pie. Some of you might have to Google that one, folks. Steve is undergoing the final preparations for the experiments, as scientists from earlier is among those in attendance, along with some very campy dialogue, even released he's from someone who co-produced Break Into Electric Boogaloo. There's also someone named Senator Kirby, a not so subtle reference to co-creator Jack Kirby. I don't mind Captain America being his code name. The "It May Not Be Superman" line once again brings to mind another comic book this producer royally botched. So they give him the super serum, turn on the red rays, you know the drill. The man with polio becomes a buff super soldier, and the spy hidden in the lab kills the scientist and destroys all the research, making Steve the first and last super soldier of his kind. While the injuries don't look too bad, he's still sent active combat while on the front within the next 48 hours, completely very campy version of his iconic super suit. Yeah, they're still trying to figure out how to make colorful spandex practical on film. Plus, I would have drawn the line of the plastic ears. Now the honest trailer pointed this out, but why didn't it just have holes for his real ears? So Cap infiltrates the enemy base to stop an experimental missile launch, results in some very choppy editing, rough cuts, and terrible model work that seem to give off the vibe of being as cheap as possible. This also became a DTV film because this wouldn't have held up in theaters at all. Cap then engages the Red Skull, who in this movie turns from one of the most iconic villains in the Marvel Universe to an Italian with a bad case of eczema. The fight choreography is also very awkward, as stuntmen are quite obvious. The Red Skull then straps Cap to a bomb headed to the White House and cuts off his own hand when Cap tries to grab him. We then cut back to Washington, with some kids very excited to be there, so he wants to be president someday. Fair enough, they actually wouldn't be that out of place, but what happens next is totally ridiculous. The bomb almost reaches the White House, but Cap is able to redirect it by kicking in the tail fin. That's not how physics works. We've gone for a wild coyote at just around 25 minutes in. The bomb crash lands, and I quote, somewhere in Alaska, leaving Cap frozen in ice while the kid earlier talks to his best friend. We again get a montage of newspapers leading to present day, showing events like the Allies' victory, the moon landing, and other events that also coincide with the kid's rise to power. His name is Thomas Kimball, by the way. Cliche to be sure, but that actually might be a more interesting movie than one I'm talking about. Kimball becomes president, played Ronnie Cox, the original Robocop Total Recall fame, a platform based on environmentalism. He remarks at a press conference that anyone who works in Harvard will need to find other work. Maybe there's something for them at OCP. However, General Fleming, played by the old man because the story, expressed skepticism at Kimball's proposal. Maybe it was all he was working on that clinker of furnace. This isn't a good movie, but I got a lot of good material for riffing this out the first half hour alone. Some seems to get laughs out of me, just not for the reason the filmmakers intended. It turns out that Fleming is working the Red Skull player Scott Poland as he meets with him, of course, Lorenzo trying to undermine the proposal. On top of the makeup and possibilities looking incredibly cheap, his name is not Johann Schmidt, but rather Todd Zio DeSantis. It's actually one of the least of the problems with his character's change, to be honest. His plots are still made by fellow polluters and mobsters, so continues to show typical Captain Planet villains. So as Cap is thought out and Alaska by a couple of West German researchers, this also states how the movie before they and East Germany became unified again. Good job. The fact that Cap just casually walks out of the research tent gives away this is probably another set, man. Back in Washington, Kimball finds out about Cap's awakening, and rather than call the military, the Fed, CIA, or SHIELD, he calls his childhood friend Sam, now adult player Ned Beatty. So that's what happened to Otis after Lex left him in prison. Everything I've talked about has been standard bad comic movies so far, but now we're officially going off the rails. And Ron Miskel confers with his mob slash family, or his head put on Captain America discovering he's alive. We then cut northern Canada where Cap is still trying to make it back home. I just think it's impressive that he made it all the way from Alaska on foot this far, and that's before Sam and Skull's minions meet up with him. This movie already has bargain bin James Bond all over it, but it's incredibly ridiculous to have find him in the air, but the inside find him on motorcycles. There's also a stage that has so much shaky cam and terrible editing can't even tell what's happening. The movie's concealed from here. Want proof? Not only does Cap get suspicious about Sam's Volkswagen and Sony tape recorder, he then fakes being cursed to steal said Volkswagen and get back to the mainland. Alright, here, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, a place so deserted there's no warning meter set off. So, Cap is able to make it back to his hometown in California while encountering this strange time in 1990. We made sure it's played by Kim Gillingham, also played Bernice in the 1943 scenes. I guess these are the movie statements for Sharon Carter and Bernice Rosenthal, but the movie doesn't explain this very well. Back in Rome, Skull is all less than pleased that his daughter tries to hit woman let Cap escape, and this all continues to tell him that even the Marbles will be telling them to tone it down. While Sharon catches Steve up in Walter Vince, apparently has put out on Bernice and Sharon's father. In a better movie, I feel sad, but the acting is just so cheesy and everything's just so undeveloped I don't really care. By way of plot convenience news, Steve and Sharon find out that the president has been kidnapped and decide to go to Rome to rescue him, all looking like the Clay haven't left the States. First, stop by the dining room earlier, which now become a sort of nostalgia cafe, and the cover still has secret passage to the lab. Steve finds no journal, and while I'm not impressed with how he's hidden from the hitman, I'm even more astonished that they were not able to find him and share in this very obvious hiding spot. There's another incoherent gunfight in the basement lab, which is so dimly edited that I could barely tell how some Skull's guards died. To think people so hard on lighting and Solo. Back in Rome, President Kimball is being held hostage by the Red Skull for his environmentalist policies. Somehow, this is much more petty and less ambitious than global conquest trying to make Tesseract-powered weaponry. Also, another element that dates this movie is how Steve and Sharon apparently fly to Rome on the now defunct Transworld Airlines. Trying to find the Red Skull's hideout, Steve again fakes Carson to steal Sharon's ride. Are you here, ladies and gentlemen? As Steve unsuccessfully tries to get information from the locals, President Kimball starts hatching escape with some acid pocketed in an earlier scene. Once again, this movie should have been about him. Conveniently, Sharon has found the radio from before, and even after all this time, it still works. Somehow, in a movie that has the Red Skull and Star Spangled Man, that's actually one of the most ridiculous things I've seen. Thankfully, we're nearing the end, just more Red Skull's assassins/children give a badly filmed chase. This into an absurd amount of cuts just to draw their guns. Their car not only crashes through a fruit stand, classic, but also goes so slow that Steve is easily able to save two kids playing in the street. Might as well have him do something heroic if the movie is almost over. Seriously, the chase at the end of National Lampoon's European Vacation was more convincing than this, and when I'm comparing a movie unfavorably of that, you know you're in trouble. Sharon's able to find Red Skull's hideout from one of the assassin's IDs. Anything that helps end this movie is fine at this point. Also, it's sunny, then raining, then sunny again, and spans just a few minutes screen time. Is that working whether or not another continuity error? Honestly, this movie isn't worth the bandwidth it's streaming on. So I've reached Skull's hideout in an incredibly low-speed chase, and he puts on his best spirit Halloween costume to face off against his old foe. Also, even though that show is bulletproof and can take out almost anything or anyone, it's a completely cheap prop that's just made of plastic. I mean, as Kimball breaks out of his cell, Cap begins scanning clips of the castle, and the president subs by another obvious spot check. Forget superheroes or environmentalism, Red Skull's greatest enemy is like a peripheral vision. Might explain that there were shots from more stormtroopers. The final battle consists of yet more choppy editing and rough camera work and choreography as well as the most given episodes of Power Rangers. I also know that Kimball can somehow phone NATO all the way from Italy when my iPhone isn't charged unless I pull the cable in the right way. I mean, seriously, the stunt double is so obvious even with the quick edits and frequent cuts, even Steven Seagal would be laughing in this movie. How expect to see Sharon with a mustache smoking a cigar? After numerous attempts to shoot Cap's shield prove futile, Skull has another bomb to fire at Washington. Yes, because that worked out so well before. Cap is able to play according to Skull's past, and once again they are saved by a Vibranium shield ex machina. The way an obvious dummy falls from on the cliff is just hilarious. Much like Spoon for this movie's like the American version of Puma Man. So, as a credits roll, it was still image from the comic, and its cheesy ballad almost seems like it came from a Chevy commercial. We hear more of Cap's exploits and President's policy passing. The film ends on words asking to support the 1990 Environmental Protection Act. Not exactly Captain America will return the Avengers, but I'm just glad it's over. Very rare evidence of how dated this movie is that was partially filmed in Yugoslavia before it split in Serbia and Montenegro. So, that's the 1990 Captain America movie. I'm not a bit surprised it's only got 9% Rotten Tomatoes rating at 3.3 out of 10 IMDb score. I have trouble believing that somehow cost $10 million to make. Personally, I wouldn't pay $10 for it. The acting ranges from dull to hammy as Hormel. The plot makes absolutely no sense, and the visual looks ugly and cheap. Lacking a Star Spangled Wonder with source material. However, while this movie is bad, it's also kind of hilarious. Being produced by one half of the Schlockmeister as a canon films is definitely good for unintentional comedy, given how spectacular it fails being a straight superhero film. Also makes a good reminder of how far we come, and how far it can go. Even if there are some people who don't like the new Marvel movies we've gotten over the years, I can always look back at how things could be much worse. We could have had Catch in the Rye here, teamed up with Pretty State version of Iron Man, Thor and the Hulk to fight rubbery Thanos with plastic armor. Disregarding my star rating, this is one of those rare movies I actually have to see to believe. Marvel themselves effectively disowned it, and it took 21 years before they figured out how to do it right. So if you ever wonder how awful a surprisingly entertaining superhero movie can be, this is it. Final rating is 1 star out of 4. Well, I've been doing a lot of recent movies lately, so next time will be something different. Something that started I want to do for at least a year. Later.